Obviously, if anything gets too personal, if we go into something that kind of feels a little bit inappropriate to carry on recording, it will be stopped and not shared on the groups. So today is actually the last coffee break we're doing for probably a couple of weeks. Just coming into the summer months, I think hopefully people will be stepping away from their desks, taking a bit of annual leave, and to give us a bit of a break as well. So keep an eye out on the members WhatsApp group, because we may be doing some drop-in networking sessions just to kind of touch base through July and August. Obviously, due to the government guidelines, we had to move our networking drinks as well. They've been postponed until the 21st of July. So fingers crossed that the next announcement, obviously, those drinks can go ahead. So if you've not already signed up for them, they're on the website. And finally, we have an Alpha Challenges session tomorrow. It's the first financial wellbeing session that they're doing. So it's talking about kind of building yourself a better financial future. So that might be really interesting for you to join. So if you do have availability tomorrow at 6, the Zoom details are on the website. Perfect. That leads us to today. I'm really excited, actually. Kim and I have been in touch for quite a while, so I'm really, really pleased that we managed to cement this in the diary. I know that a lot of members, this kind of would really resonate with them. So Kim, if you want to give yourself a wave or give us a wave. There we go. Right, I'll hand over to Kim then. We'd really like to make this interactive. So if you've got any comments, either raise your hand, take yourself off mute, or even pop a message in the chat box. Kim's more than happy to be interrupted. So yeah, over to you, Kim. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Lovely to meet all you ladies. I know that this is sort of the end of the Zooms before the summer. I think this is, as you said, Katie, this is your last one, so I'm happy that you're all here today. So we're going to be talking about how to sell yourself without selling your soul, and this is something that I talk to organizations about, I talk to individuals about. I'm a communication and branding consultant, so I work with everyone from individual entrepreneurs and coaches right through to small and medium-sized businesses and global corporations, law firms, banks, management consultancies, you name it. And this is something that comes up time and time again. It's a really tricky subject. And in my experience, there are 3 kinds of people generally, and I'd love to know, pop me in the chat, sort of, if any of these resonate with you when it comes to self-promotion and selling yourself. So the first type is what I call the rebel, right? So this is the kind of person that says, do you know what? Ugh, just not for me. It's fine for other people, but, you know, I don't want any part of this. You know, it's all BS. All of this showing off. I don't want to be one of those idiots on LinkedIn showing off all the time. No thanks, not for me. They're the rebel. Second one, it's people who say, and I hear this a lot from lawyers, from technical experts, who say things like, that's not my job. I was not hired to be a salesperson, to be a marketer, to sell myself. I was hired to be a project manager or a lawyer or a data manager or something like that. But it's not my job to do self-promotion. Why should I do that? And the third type of person is I'm too busy. You know, that's fine for other people, but I just don't have the hours in the day to do any of this stuff. And, you know, these are the 3 main types: the rebel, that's not my job, and the I'm too busy. And I wonder if any of those resonate with you. Do tell me in the chat, because these are the things that come up time and time again when it comes to self-promotion. And it tends to cover a lot of fear, a lot of underlying fear about self-promotion and how we go about it. So what I wanted to do today is just kind of dig down a little bit into some of those fears that we might have about selling ourselves, how we get over them, and actually what are some of the practical steps that we can take to self-promotion, so that it doesn't feel overwhelming, it doesn't feel inauthentic, and it doesn't feel icky and like we need a shower afterwards. So do ask me your questions. Happy to answer anything, kind of big, small, technical, specific to you, do interrupt me at any point, as Katie said, or drop your message in the chat. So I'd really love to hear from you. So we've got a couple of comments here. One from Katie: I have to post a lot for my role at UTW, but in my personal life, I'm much more quiet and shy. So I feel like a bit of a rebel, but force myself to get over it. Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes we feel very comfortable doing it when we have the organization as our cover, if you like. But doing something that's very personal to us, so talking about ourselves rather than the organisation, that can feel a bit more revealing, can't it? Someone's saying here, from time to time, I get off social media to do it, especially when I'm busy. Yeah, it's hard, particularly when we're busy in our social lives. It's hard to find that message. Claire's saying, I'm too busy resonates me, but also rebel. Yeah, we find a lot of excuses, and many of them are quite valid. But actually, the thing is, there's an expectation here these days, isn't there? There's an expectation that we have an online presence. It used to be very much more in the B2C world, where it's expected, but actually now in professional services, there's a big expectation that we have some kind of presence. People use it to research us. Quite often, I'm sure when you've had a meeting with people, there's some nods there. We look them up, right? We look at that LinkedIn profile. We're trying to find information about people before we even meet them. So there's definitely that expectation. But there's also a really wonderful part of self-promotion, and that is helping people make decisions about you in the right way. So if we don't own our personal brand, it can own us. So people are trying to figure out who we are and what we're about. They can either come up with their own ideas, or we can help them do that. So a strong personal brand will help people make decisions about you. It will help them decide whether or not they want to hire you, whether or not they want to promote you, and whether or not they want to buy from you, depending on your job. So it's our job to help curate that impression. So when you Google yourself, what comes up? Now, for years, when someone Googled Kim Arnold, the first lines that would come up would be Kim Arnold and her psychic cafe. So there's actually a tarot card reader out there called Kim Arnold, who has a psychic cafe and a bunch of cats, and she would come up, and it would be like the first 10 results on Google. So happily over the years, I fought with her for pole position, but I'm up there now, so that people know when they Google my name, they look me up, they get a very clear idea of who I am and what I'm about. The other main benefit, I think, as well, of having a personal brand is to stop those moments where you sit and you go, oh, I can't believe they got that job. I can't believe they got promoted ahead of me. I can't believe that they won that award. I can't believe that they're getting all the attention. When I know that I'm much more qualified than them, I'm better at my job than them, I've got more experience than them. So sometimes it is around people who shout the loudest who get the attention, and it's not always a nice situation to be in, but unfortunately, quite often it's the world that we live in. So we just need to find ways to do self-promotion in a way that feels okay. It feels comfortable. It feels like something we can do. Couple of questions here in the chat. Let me get to those. Is there any relation between selling yourself and your personality? For example, extrovert, introvert. Brilliant question, Sabrina. This is one I get asked all the time. I think there's often preconceptions that if we're going to be good at selling ourselves, we have to be a raging extrovert. You know, we have to be Richard Branson, and, you know, we have to love the limelight, and we have to have this larger than life personality, and we've got to, you know, really enjoy all of that attention. And it's not true. We can find ways, and I'll show you a method in a moment, to sell ourselves in a way that feels really authentic. But we have to be honest with ourselves. We have to make sure that we're really not making excuses, and we have to dig down into some of these fears that we are experiencing. So great question, Sabrina. what else have we got here in the chat? Let me just have a quick look. We've got, sometimes when you sell yourself, people make negative comments about it. I think so. I think particularly women, you can get some feedback. Men get it as well. But there's an interesting quote. I think more often than not, you know, the quote is, you wouldn't worry so much about what people think if you knew how seldom they think of you. Actually, you know, people's lives don't revolve around us as much as we like to think they do. So actually, our struggle is more about making people notice us rather than them about judging us, if only, right? You know, we do worry. One of our big fears is people will think I'm a show off. And, you know, for a start, you know, often people don't really notice what you're doing, actually. That's not their first thought. There's a lot of really good will out there, I would say. More often than not, you get the odd troll. I've had a few myself. But mostly, there are people wishing you well. So if we think well of people and we have high expectations, normally we get those returned. So if we think about selling as helping, we can really change the way we think about it. We tend to think very much of self-promotion about us, right? It's about me, me, me. It's about, you know, telling everyone, smacking people around the head with what you can do and telling people why you're so great. But actually, it's not about that at all. Really great self-promotion is showing how you can help. And it's about showing people how they can find you. So it's about delivering value to other people. It's about serving other people, not necessarily about serving your own needs and wants and promotions. You know, you've seen all of those posts on LinkedIn, I'm sure. Tell me if you've seen one of these. I'm delighted to announce that, you know, I've just won an award, or I'm thrilled to tell you that I've just got promoted to whatever. That is bragging. You can do it occasionally, which is absolutely fine. But if you do that constantly, people will get sick of it. So we need to move away from that. We want to think about delivering value. When we deliver value, it's not bragging. So we have to answer that question, what's in it for them? How am I helping other people with this? Why is this, you know, why should they care? There's a great book called, Katie, do you mind a small swear word? There's a great quote, and it says, it's something like, I'm trying to paraphrase it, no one gives a shit about a word you write. there's a nod there from Lisa. And when we remember that, it's like, wow, okay, it's quite freeing. Actually, now it's more about trying to engage other people with topics that they're interested in, not necessarily stuff that we're interested in. So reframing, when we're worrying about showing off, we're not showing off, we're helping, we're not selling. So that's sort of number one. I think number two, one of the other biggest fears is around, I've got nothing to say. What on earth could I say? And I hear this a lot from my clients, particularly the most brilliant and able ones. It's they're called the Dunning-Kruger effect, where idiots don't realize they're idiots, and clever people have imposter syndrome. You know, so if you think you have nothing to say, then you probably do have lots to say. So we need to be really careful about the imposter syndrome and about, you know, worrying too much and not being able to get started because of this. Now, you know, what have I got to say? What have I got that's new to say that hasn't been covered by everyone else in the world? You know, we often worry about that too much. There isn't an awful lot that's new in the world when you think about it. You know, all the products that are being launched, it's another type of water, it's an energy drink, it's another pair of trousers. It's, you know, there's very few people who are really changing the world. So it's okay. We're not expecting you to come up with some life-altering statement of genius every day in your self-promotion. No, it's okay. But what you do need to do is say it in your way. There are some people who will need to hear things from you and you only. So what is it that people like about working with you? You know, have a think about that. Is it the fact that you're funny? Is it the fact that you make difficult things really easy to understand? Is it the fact that you use stories and metaphors when you describe things? Is it that you cut to the chase? What is it that people tell you that they like about you? Is it that you have warmth and empathy with other people? And that is what you want to bring to your self-promotion. That is going to be your special sauce. It isn't necessarily about the insight, it's about the delivery as well. So you are all unique individuals, and there are people who will need to hear the message from you and you only. Look, there are lots of people out there who talk about personal brand. There are lots of other people who talk about communication in the same way that I, you know, they cover a lot of the same ground as me. But there are people who say, Kim, oh my goodness, I'd heard a lot of this stuff before, but hearing you say it in that way really made it stick for me. So this is what we want, to celebrate all of your individuality. So we need to get over that worry about not having you to say. I guarantee that all of you have something interesting to say, whether you believe it or not. And the third thing as well is sort of fear of getting started. So I know a lot of people, when it comes to self-promotion, it's a very stop-start approach. And tell me if you resonate this, where you have really great intentions, and you might start, or you might want to start a LinkedIn post or a blog or a video or something like that. But you want to get it right and you want to get it perfect. So you start it and then you think, oh no, I'm going to redraft it. And you try again and you go over and over it again. Or suddenly work gets really busy and you never get it out there, and you're not sustainable. You don't end up in that nice routine. So we sometimes just have to get started, and it might be a bit crap at the beginning, and that's okay. You're not going to be completely perfect all the time. But actually sometimes just getting out there and starting is the very, very best approach. So there's a brilliant quote from Mark Twain, and he says, I've suffered many troubles in my life, most of which have never happened. And I love that, because I think it describes really effectively our approach to self-promotion. You know, we in our head, we worry, you know, what about if I get a troll, and what if someone says, oh, I've heard this before, and what if? Actually, the reality is most people will be positive. Most people will respond to you. So we just need to practice and get out there. So tell me in the chat, you know, what's been stopping you getting out there? Is it time? Is it worrying about being seen as a show off? Tell me what's been stopping you. I would love to know. Don't be shy here. Let's have a look what we've got coming in.
I think it's really important. A big barrier for me, and you mentioned it, Kim, is getting over the fact that actually a lot of people aren't thinking negatively about you, or their thoughts aren't consumed with me. It's my hang up. Actually, they're not thinking negatively if I say something, or, you know, if I write a LinkedIn post, they're probably just, if they're not interested, just scroll straight past, where it's definitely my hang up about what other people's opinions would be. And I definitely recognize that that's something that I actually just need to kind of move forward with myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. It's a great point. We scroll on by. Does that interest me? No, scroll on by. Laura's saying, you know, other people's perceptions of me. Yeah, it's a big one that can hold us back. Lisa's saying, I'm worried that I'm going to say something wrong. Yes, we worry about that. I think that is it's a valid concern when we're representing an organisation. I think it's a bit easier, like me, when you work for yourself. But yes, I think there's a lot of concern around that. But actually, in reality, it's quite hard to say something wrong. You've got to be quite controversial and get out there. So I've got some tips later to help you kind of ease into those. And Nilam is saying, worrying about saying something irrelevant and how others might perceive it. Yeah, we're letting all of that, the sort of what ifs, hold us back too much. And in reality, people are pretty supportive. And Tatiana's saying she's worried about what managers and colleagues might think of her LinkedIn posts, which aren't strictly work related, but interest me. That's great. Well, you are allowed to show some of your personality out there. That is you, and you own yourself. So, you know, you might not want to sort of completely bare your soul or talk about very sensitive topics, but you know your boundaries. Go for it. Sana's saying, my solution is to post facts rather than my opinions to be safe on the topic when I'm not confident on a topic. Absolutely. You know, you can comment on other people's posts. You know, it can be around inviting conversation, and we'll talk about that in a bit. You know, you don't always have to have that opinion. You can curate other people's opinions as well. That can be a really great way to ease yourself in. So I think, you know, when we learn to get over some of those fears, we learn by doing. We don't learn by, you know, sitting in our glass chamber removed from everything. We definitely we learn from doing, and the more we do, the easier it becomes. It really is like riding a bike, but trying to do that in a vacuum is impossible. So, you know, my advice is to take it slow. But consistency is one of the most important things that we want to achieve when it comes to self-promotion. So we want to avoid these peaks and troughs of visibility. Little and often is far, far better than, you know, a big bang once every couple of months and then you disappear forever. You'll find that the people who are the most memorable are the ones out there regularly. Now, it might be on social media, it might be internally, it might be that they're, you know, hosting things internally in their organizations, they might be, you know, running the women's group, it might be that they are doing stuff for charity, they're doing ESG stuff, whatever it might be, but they're the ones who are doing it often. So I always say, you know, the marketing, the sort of self-promotion, the personal branding that works the best, it's not always the best, it's not the cleverest, it's not the necessarily the most insightful, it's the stuff that actually gets out there. You know, it's the people who actually step out into the limelight, and you can actually have quite a big impact by not doing a huge amount, but by doing it little and often. So we can make an impact without it draining necessarily all of our time. So I'm going to walk you through a 3-step process that I've got when it comes to self-promotion. It's called my PEP technique, PEP. It's an acronym for you, makes it nice and easy to understand and remember. And this is just 3 really simple steps to help you get back on track with your self-promotion, with your personal brand. I think we can spend a lot of time potentially digging down into our values and what it is that I stand for and who am I as a person and all of this stuff, and agonize over that for such a long time that we actually never get out there. So, you know, I think if you are that kind of person, great, and you can do that. But my advice for most of you is just get started, crack on. You can figure out who you are along the way, right? This is a journey for all of us in life. Who are we? What do we stand for? All of that good stuff. And that comes again by doing. So PEP, P-E-P, P, we're going to start with this. P is for polish. So I want you to have a look at your online presence and have a look and see whether it needs a polish up. So for most of you, at the very least, you will need a LinkedIn profile and a really good headshot. So if your headshot is more than 2 years old or 3 years old, get a new one. If you now wear glasses all the time and your photo has you without glasses, get a new one. If your hair has changed dramatically, get a new one. If your weight has changed dramatically, and I know we hate to address that sometimes, but get a new one. You want people to see you over Zoom or in real life, fingers crossed, the same way as they see your photo. So we need to just get real about it. So a really good headshot. Make sure, if your organization does those for you, fantastic. Or it's worth investing just a little bit of money if that's something that you want to do yourself, get a photographer. It's really worthwhile. And then look at your LinkedIn profile. So your LinkedIn profile is not your CV, okay? It's not your CV. It's not just a list of things that you've done. It's showing people how you can help them. So think about who your target audience might be. So that might be your clients if you have a client-facing role. It might be your internal audience. It might be people that you're seeking to influence. Who are you trying to influence? And you need to write it as a love letter to those people. It's not just a laundry list of things that you've done. So have a good go at your about section. Look at other people's that you admire. Why do you like them? What do they say, what do they say about that person? How do you, get to know them quickly through their LinkedIn profiles? Because when we have a really good LinkedIn profile and a headshot, it's a bit like going to a party in a really killer outfit. It gives us confidence. And conversely, when we don't have those in place, it can make us feel like, I don't really want anyone to look at them. The amount of my clients who I speak to when I say, right, do you have a LinkedIn profile? Yes, but I don't want anyone to see it because it's rubbish. Which kind of defeats the object of having one, right? So it's like turning up to the same party in a pair of jeans and everyone else is in black tie. It's like, oh my God, I feel super awkward. I don't want anyone to see me. I want to, disappear behind the canapes and not talk to anyone because I don't feel confident. So get your online presence up to scratch. It will give you confidence. If you have a biography on your company website as well, make sure that's up to scratch. Give it some oomph. Maybe you can include some of your achievements in there. It's not just about your job title. So make sure that everything that people can see about you in the public domain is on point. So that's the P for polish. So you're looking good now. You're feeling good. And we're gonna step into the world of self-promotion. And we're gonna ease you in here. So the E in PEP is for engage. So we are going to start by engaging with other people. We are not necessarily going to start with promoting ourselves. And there are two benefits for doing this. One, it can feel a lot easier and more comfortable. It doesn't feel as daunting. And the second thing is, if we are generous to other people, they will be generous back. It's the law of reciprocity, which is a really powerful influencer. When we are generous with other people, we give them our time, we give them our attention, they are more likely to do the same back. What so many people do on LinkedIn is spam, or paintballing, as I call it. It's just sort of they fire out information about themselves. Me, this is what I do. This is the award that I've won. This is a new client that I've won. This is my new service line. This is me. And it's a bit of a turn off because when people are reading that, they're scanning it, having a look, and they're thinking, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? What's in it for me? So when we start by engaging people, so whether that's commenting on their posts on LinkedIn, it might be liking their posts on LinkedIn, it might be making helpful introductions, you know, connecting people in your network. It might be helping someone else get the limelight. Could you suggest that they get a speaking opportunity within your organisation or with someone that you know? It might be, you know, sending an article to someone that you think they might like. It could be all sorts of things. But write a list for yourself. What are the ways in which I can be super generous with my network? You know, how can I be the sort of biggest hearted person out there? And think of all the ways that you can do it internally in your organization. You know, what can you do to big up other people? It might be people in your team, it might be colleagues. How can you make them look good? It might be a case study, something like that, where you could make one of your clients look really good as well. So there are so many different ways that we could do that with engagement. And the more we do that, the better results we get. On LinkedIn, I know that that's a big platform for many of you. It also does the job of triggering the algorithm. So it tells the algorithm, oh, this is someone who is super active on LinkedIn. We need to show their posts to more people. So you get a benefit from it as well. It's the same on other social media as well. If you look like you are engaging with other people, then your posts are going to be seen by more people. So that's a really good way of just easing yourself in, particularly, you know, if during the pandemic, like some of you I see on the chat have just kind of said, oh God, I've just been so busy, you know, I haven't been able to do any of this stuff. I need to get back into it. This is a great way of doing it. Give yourself 10 minutes a day on LinkedIn, 10 minutes, you know, or it might be 10 minutes just thinking internally, shooting off a couple of emails, a couple of suggestions to people. Just be helpful. There's a guy on LinkedIn called John Espirian, who is a LinkedIn expert. And in his bio, he calls himself relentlessly helpful. And he is. He gives out so many brilliant tips. He connects people. He has a, what does he call it? Something like a Big Up Friday, where he highlights someone in his network who does a really good job at something and promotes their business. So think about how you can be relentlessly helpful, but also relentlessly visible. So we're just doing little and often. If you go on, so, you know, every day, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute. I know you're all super busy people. So little and often, it's, you know, not thinking, oh, it's got to be all or nothing. Oh, I haven't done LinkedIn for a week. Oh, well, you know, I might as well not bother. If you go on for 30 seconds, then that will be great. So keep at it. So we've done P for polish, E for engage, and now the final P is about picking. The biggest mistake that people make with self-promotion is they try and bite off more than they can chew. So they try and do too many things. They listen to the hype, and I hear this from my clients all the time. Well, you know, I thought that I'm on LinkedIn, and I think I should be on Twitter, and I you know, I'm on Facebook, but that's kind of just at the weekends. But I hear that I should be on Instagram, and is it TikTok as well? And I'm doing this internally, and I'm doing that, and then it all just becomes too much, and they end up not doing any of those things. So I want you to think about what brings you joy. Bit Marie Kondo. If you're a Marie Kondo fan and you've held up all of your items of clothing and thought, does this spark joy? I want you to think about doing the same for your self-promotion. Okay, what do you like doing? Because if we like doing it, we're going to be more likely to actually do it. This shouldn't be painful every time. Okay, we're going to try and make this enjoyable. So think about the platforms that you like using and the things that you like doing. So If you enjoy writing, then maybe you should think about a blog, or, you know, regularly posting LinkedIn articles or posts. If you are you know, you love kind of debate, well, maybe Twitter's the right platform for you, where you can really get into some of those discussions, but you're not writing War and Peace. It's much more snappy. If you are, you know, you love bringing people together, think about how you can do that within your own network. So is there an internal group that you could run or start? Are there introductions that you can make in your network? You know, do you want to be known as a connector of people? Is that something that you love doing? Do you love public speaking? Is that something that you want to do more of? You know, do you actually enjoy, I know a lot of people hate it, but there are lots of people out there who do love public speaking. So where, you know, can you find an outlet for your voice? So try and find something that you like doing, because you're going to make more of it. You're going to enjoy it. So that's the one thing. So pick your platform, and I would say start with one. If you're already super, you know, active on social media and you find it easy and it's something you do, then great, pick more. But much better to put all of your eggs into one basket and do it really well. So I send out a newsletter every week to my list. And that's something I do, and I give communication tips, branding tips, all of those things. And you know, week in, week out, that's something that I always do, apart from when I'm on holiday, maybe Christmas week. Probably around sort of 48 weeks a year, people get an email from me. And there's that expectation that that's going to be coming into their inbox. So that's really important. So we need to find the platform, and then we need to think about our topic. Now, some of you will be happy kind of, you know, writing about different things, you know, having some different discussions. But some of you might find that a bit overwhelming. So it can be quite useful sometimes to just spend a bit of time thinking about, okay, what is my niche topic? What is something that I'm really interested in and I feel passionate about? It might be something connected with your job. So it might be, you know, if you're in HR, for example, you know, it might be a learning and development topic, but it might be something very, it might be a sort of an adjacent topic. So it might be something around diversity. It might be something around, I don't know, ESG issues. It might be, you know, any of those things. So find something that you want to be talk about and that you would like to be known for, you know, something that will bring a little added something. You know, it doesn't have to be solely about your role in an organization and you as a corporate person. We can absolutely have bring all of ourselves to this. It could be something around mental health. It could be something, you know, not directly related to what you do. So have a think about that topic and what really gets your juices flowing, because that is, you know, a way of helping to sort of channel your thoughts a little bit. It can be helpful to do some research. So on LinkedIn, for example, you can follow hashtags if you don't do this already. So you can follow, obviously you can do this on Twitter as well. You can search for hashtags and you can look at those topics that people are talking about. So do some research, have a look at what other people are talking about. And again, you know, you could start by engaging with other people's posts. You don't have to jump in there straight away. But when you get a feel for what your topic area is, then you've got something to start with. And that can change over time. You don't just have to talk about one thing. But it's just a way of grounding you, you know, way of starting to get yourself out there. Because as I've said lots and lots of times already today, you learn by doing, you learn by getting out there, and you become more visible when you are visible. So you actually have to be seen in order to be able to help people. So that is my pep talk. Oh my goodness, I made a terrible pun there. A pep talk for you, but I hope that's helpful in just starting to, overcome some of those fears and help you get out there without that kind of ick factor, without feeling that you've got to be Mr. Billy Big Pants shouting about yourself and how great you are, because there's lots of different ways to doing that. So if anyone's got any questions, I'm very happy to ask them now. Any thoughts, any comments, any commitments to doing things and getting out there, I would love to hear them.
Does anyone have anything they want to add in? You can even, I know a couple of you were out on walks. If you wanted to type it in the chat, then Kim can read it from there.
Hi, Katie. Something, or would you prefer the chat, Kim?
No,
okay. So I had a really interesting. I engaged with a contact yesterday, and he said to me, you know, if I'm trying to sell you to my clients, how would you sell yourself so I can sell you on? And because I knew this person, I was confident in telling him about myself, because I know that he knows me and he doesn't think that, you know, he wouldn't judge me as quickly sort of thing as a new person, because I know him already. So I felt much happier selling myself to him. But I know that if he was a new person, you know, that I just met, and it was the client directly that I was trying to sell myself to, then I wouldn't have felt the same.
Yeah.
Does that kind of ring any bells? And if you've got any sort of tips about how to get over that kind of fear of, this is a new person and I don't want to kind of overstep the mark, sort of thing.
Absolutely, it's a really good question, and I hear this all the time. Lot of my clients seem to sell themselves in spite of themselves. You know, that actually they sell themselves by doing a really good job, and people sort of naturally are drawn to them. But actually, when they have to formalize that, you know, whether it's with people who don't know them, then they start to feel like, oh, what should I say? A really good approach is not to think about it as you selling yourself. It's about trying to understand what they want and need, and framing it from a client perspective. So a really good opener is, people come to me when. So you're not talking about yourself. This isn't about, you know, this is what I do and this is how I help and this is me. But actually you've then started talking about the clients. So you can say, you know, people come to me when they have this problem, and these are the challenges that they're facing, and this is how we, you know, using we is quite good as well, rather than I. That can help you feel a bit more comfortable. Don't overdo it. You do want to make sure that you have your place in that conversation, because you earned it. You are good at what you do, and you need to remember that. But it does kind of shift the emphasis off ourselves a little bit, and asking a ton of questions. Keep asking. I think it's you know, I remember when I first started my business, I had this phone call with a client, a new potential client prospect, and I talked about myself non-stop for about 20 minutes, and afterwards he said, oh, that's not what I thought you did at all, so that's not what we want, bye. And I completely fluffed it, and actually I could do some of the things that he wanted, it turned out, but I'd totally lost it by that point. So asking questions, you know, helping to frame, you know, sometimes it's, look, would you mind if I just ask a couple of quick questions so that I can make sure what I tell you is relevant to you? So if you get them talking first, get other people, you know, show interest in them, and then I think it can make that whole conversation a bit easier, because actually it's then, again, it's about helping, it's not about selling, and when we make that shift, it can make a huge difference. Does that help?
That's super helpful. Thank you, Kim. Thank you.
Tatiana, I know you just wrote in the chat, you've been trying to post a little bit more often, and it's getting good traction. Did you want to come off mute and just kind of give your thoughts?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Katie. Hi, everyone. No, I feel like, you know, this talk has just helped me to kind of streamline what I'm doing already. And, you know, the little and often, it's just really when I see something interesting or that sparks my, you know, my natural kind of curiosity about things. But obviously it's, you know, if it's having that effect on me, I think it's useful to share. But I kind of, I don't really, you know, have a direction that I'm going there, but I think it is naturally leading me to kind of my next career step as well, which is kind of linked to some of the ESG elements, some of which I do at work now, but not, you know, that's not my main job. So yeah, I'll just be, you know, as a result of this, I think I'll be more targeted and more, you know, hopefully then I'll get known for it as rather than just, you know, posting things that are kind of occasionally just interesting. Yeah, so that's all I wanted to say.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. I think when we understand who our audience is on LinkedIn, the world becomes a much clearer place. Often it is just about when we're thinking about ourselves all the time, then all the pressure is on you to deliver these insights. But actually, when we think about, okay, what's my, you know, who am I trying to reach and what are they interested in? Then it makes things much simpler. It really narrows the field of things that we can talk about. So yeah, thinking about that relationship between what you're interested in and what your audience is interested in is such a useful exercise. And when we get that right, it, you know, the magic happens really. When you sort of get that golden combination of the sort of Venn diagram in the middle, it's like stuff I like and other people like. Wow, you know, we're all going to have this sort of massive joy fest of talking about stuff that excites us. Then it doesn't feel like hard work. Then it's just a lot of fun. And that's a really nice position to be in. It takes time, but it's a really great place to be.
I think it's an interesting point that Tatiana said as well about, you know, potentially if you are looking for your next move or a promotion internally, all these little bits and pieces, you know, if they're hitting the right people and landed in the right way, it's only going to be of benefit to you and your profile, really.
Definitely. I mean, I was on a panel a few weeks ago, actually, talking about personal branding for lawyers, and there was a general counsel in an organisation who was doing a huge amount around diversity, and it's something that she felt really, really passionate about, and she ended up, you know, doing a sort of almost like a second job around it internally, even though she wasn't, you know, HR. And she said it helped her hugely be seen as a you know, not just as a lawyer, not just as a technical person, not as you know, just someone who writes contracts, but really someone who can, a business person who can deliver real value to the organisation. So I think what we see sometimes as our kind of hobbies, our side interests, our side hustles, our passion projects that we might not want to bring into the sort of public eye, sometimes that can be really helpful. And sort of position us, sort of surprise people when we give that different side to ourselves. My daughter actually she's very studious and got a teenage daughter, and she told her tutor the other day, he says, "Oh, what's everyone doing at the weekend?" And she said, "We're going to watch Fast and Furious 9." And he sort of fell off his chair, apparently. He couldn't believe that this sort of, you know, quite studious, quiet girl was going to see a really terrible action film. But, you know, I think it's nice sometimes to surprise people, to show them different sides of our personality, particularly if we feel maybe we're a little bit more sort of buttoned up and serious at work. It can be really nice to bring in that different side to our character as well.
Fabulous. Does anyone have any final thoughts? Any questions? I did pop Kim's website just up the chat a little bit further. So if you are interested in going on and connecting with her personally, obviously feel welcome to grab her LinkedIn as well. I'm sure she'll be ever so grateful to hear from you. If you wanted to follow up on anything, please feel welcome to.
Yeah, please do. You can sign up to my my weekly tips as well on my website. All about communicating, how to influence people, persuade them, how to make yourself more visible. Just one quick email every week, hopefully to make you think. Someone wrote to me the other day and she said, I spluttered out my coffee and ginger nut bicky when I was reading your email. So hopefully they'll make you smile as well.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Sorry, thank you so much, Kim. It was really a pleasure to have you. Hopefully in September or come into later on in the year, we can have you back, and yeah, we can kind of follow on from this and catch up on what everyone's been doing and filling everyone's LinkedIn feeds with positivity and all sorts. So yes, thank you so much. Please, everyone, if you can reach out to Kim if you want to follow up, obviously that would be fantastic. And enjoy the rest of your week all.
Thanks so much.
Thank you all.
Thank
Bye.
you, Kim. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.